But we buy, well, especially toiletries that the hospital doesn't provide. There are fans, specialist trolleys, personal alarms, lung cancer room equipment, glide-away guest beds, toys and equipment for the children's ward, TENS machines, soft toys for the blood clinic. So every child who goes to have a blood test is given a soft toy. DVD players, games, children's games, headphones with covers, lots of things really. Sarah Steadies, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, and paediatric chairs, which are to help children climb up a few steps if they're too short to be examined.
So it really is all those things that make life much easier for people visiting the hospital. That's absolutely incredible. What about the bigger items then, Chris?
Well, I mean, over the last 5 years, I mean, if you've been in hospital, or anybody who's been in hospital of recent years, there's a television above every bed. Now, in conjunction with another charity, we provided those between us at half the cost each. There's a film array machine which we provided for the pathology lab. Now that tests, and one of the prime things is an early test for children who might suffer from something. And in the past, those tests used to have to go to Liverpool. Now they can be done in a matter of hours in the Isle of Man. And that's, at the time it was put in, we were told there was only about 4 in the whole of the UK. We've had ultrasound machines for the surgical ward, portable ones. So instead of them having to go to radiology, they can just be kept in the ward. The doctors, consultants can use them. We've just bought one of those for the acute unit where people first go in, Ward 6, and the idea is somebody can be checked very quickly, diagnosed, or there's nothing wrong with them and they can go home. So that was something very recent. This year we provided an eye laser for the eye unit. That is replaced a unit they had which was 15 years old, and instead of one laser at a time, it shoots something like 15. It's increased the input or the throughput by 25%. That cost £56,000. And the maternity unit, they wanted a new birthing pool. Now, the staff there raised almost half the cost. We offered, they asked us, and we said, yes, well, we'll meet the other half of the cost. So, you know, it's big items like that. And we have, during the last 18 months, got a funding partner. The Schreienberg family, they've agreed to fund us up to £30,000 a year on a match basis. So if there's a big piece of equipment, anything over £5,000, they will meet half the cost and we meet half the cost. And I mean, that means this year alone that we have already been able to spend £70,000 in new equipment. So, you know, those sort of things are there to sort of improve, if you like, the patient's treatment. I mean, they're not the only items. There's other items that we've done as well. But in audiology, there's a test for balance, people's balance. They used to have to go through quite a prolonged couple of hours test. This piece of equipment, I've seen it. It's like a pair of goggles and a computer. Costs £15,000, and it does it in a quarter of an hour. And there's no unpleasantness. And you know, it's the technicians, the specialists at the hospital who might come to us with these things, and we find out from the hospital it is a priority to them. It's something they want. Therefore, we feel as though we're covered in that we're not just providing something that's not necessary, and we know that you know, it's doing good for the patients.
Do you know, it's amazing to think that I have to admit I knew very little about Friends of Nobles Hospital until we spoke to you, and hearing the impact that you have on most people who would go to hospital at some point will probably have benefited from these bits of equipment that you're talking about. But also it's the personal touch, because it's those smaller items that will make such a difference as well, isn't it? And I know we were talking before we came on air, Sue was talking about something you do with a renal unit. Just let us know, tell us about that.
Oh no, I just simply buy Christmas presents for the renal unit. Everyone who's in the renal unit over Christmas receives a little gift. And I tend to buy the men perhaps puzzle books, and the ladies the adult crayoning in books, the pretty ones. But we also provide Christmas presents for everybody in hospital over Christmas. And there could be up to 200 gifts that we buy. And I tend to buy them with a couple of other members who are friends. And between us, we buy all these gifts. And I had a problem with the men to start with, and I remember asking the men on the committee once, what shall I get the men? And they said, oh, socks and hankies. And I thought, that's boring, that's too boring. So we tend to buy things like, well, I did buy some socks actually, puzzle books, amusing books, some toiletries. And for the ladies, they're easier really, toiletries, nice notepads, colouring in books, and things like that. And then a week before Christmas, we come to my house and spend an afternoon wrapping them all up with mulled wine, mince pies, and we just have fun.
What a great thing to do. And you're talking about the fact that we have the Scheinberg family who are matching to some of the financial donation. Where else do you get the money from then?
Well, most of our income comes from bequests, and you can imagine that, therefore, it's not known when money will come in. People decide, they make their wills, we're very grateful, and when unfortunately they pass away, we find out that they've left us some money, and that is our primary source. I mean, the last few years we've been spending more than we got in, but the year before last we had a surplus, and so we've tried to balance. We spend so much every year, and it's working out. We've got a bit of reserve so that we know we can carry on. But I mean, in the last 3 months, we've been fortunate enough to receive £80,000 in 3 different bequests. So, we never know when it's coming, but that's how our prime income. We do get donations when people are there. Some people in lieu of flowers will say, please make a donation to the Friends of Nobles Hospital. But that's our prime income. We provide the flowers in the chapel, and we have a collection box, and people are very generous when they go in the chapel. It's not a great amount, but it's certainly all towards our...
It all helps.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you say that anybody can be a member, and it costs just £1 a year. Would you expect any sort of commitment of time for that membership?
No. I mean, from time to time, people leave the committee. We look for committee members, and if there's a member who wants to be on the committee, then they can be. But there's no other commitment than your £1 every year.